I love that intro. I'm jamming to the intro. Hey, everybody. And that intro gets all props to DTOS because they made that for me, and I am in love with it. Can everybody hear me? I'm chatting away. I'm guessing y'all can because I see hearts. How is everyone this evening? See who do I have? I seen Lala just a minute ago. Hey, Lala and Angela and Nace and Froggy and Gigi. Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut joined us tonight. I do love the name Pizza Hut, by the way. I'm so glad you told me who you were. Because I would be going, who? Nace, you ready for a nap? I want to say I'm ready for a nap, but I'm not sleeping good right now. So it's still going to be 2 o'clock in the morning before I go to bed. Let's just face it. So let me, and I want to, I meant to share this, and well, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, guys. I am not multitasking very well right now, and I apologize for that. Normally, I multitask a little bit better. I'm trying to think, do I need to share this anywhere else? Can somebody tell me what to do? Oh, it has been a week, and I am so sorry. This was supposed to happen yesterday, and I knew nobody had anything planned yesterday, so I'd have been able to do this without it getting in the middle of anybody else's lives, and had a monkey wrench thrown into our plan for our move, and so I was just wasn't in a real good frame of mind, which probably didn't help with last night. But thank you for everybody's support. I had several of you reach out to me today, and I appreciate it. It meant the world to me. And to Froggy, it's been a challenge, to say the least. So anyways, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate a subscribe and a thumbs up, if you would, please. This case, thank you, Froggy. So are you, babe. So are you, my ride or die. We've been through a lot. And I'm thoroughly disappointed in current events with somebody, but not my circus, not my monkeys, not my pasture, not my bullshit. That's the one I really like. So, nothing else I can do. I've said my piece. I've tried to say what I could, and balls in somebody else's court. But anyways, we hear cases that pop up and grab everybody's attention all the time. And this one happened Sunday, and I want to say Angela sent this to me. Might have been Sunday. Monday? I didn't even look. And I'm like, okay, as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to look at that. Well, I've got cup orders from that vendor event that I did, so life kind of was in the way, and I didn't really slow down till Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know what day. And I'm like, I went to looking at the case, and I'm like, they did what? And so it took me a minute to kind of wrap my head around about what I was reading. Because on Sunday in Houston, which I'm local, it's according to my GPS, I am 2 hours from this apartment. And that's probably just freaking traffic getting through Houston. A 911 call happened, and it was a 15-year-old boy who was claiming that him and his 2 younger brothers. Hey, Melissa, thanks for joining, stopping in, one of those words. Lord, y'all, I am frazzled. But claiming that him and 2 younger brothers were abandoned in an apartment for the last year, and that another one of their siblings was dead inside the apartment and had been for a year. And so it kind of makes you go, what the hell happened? How is an apartment being paid for? How are their utilities? How are they even alive if they're not getting fed? And so this is some of the stuff I found out. Now, the grandmother of one of the boys, these boys, what we do know is the boys are 15, 10, and 7. The one that was murdered was Kendrick. He was 8. Hey, unpopular opinion. Welcome. Thank you for joining. If I miss any names, y'all, I'm sorry. I cannot multitask today. I have got way too much going in my head. It has been super crazy day. Got some good news, even though not so good news still for the whole move situation. And so that just kind of has me frazzled. But these children have 2 daddies. One daddy is supposedly deceased. One just isn't involved. From what I understand, he was in prison and just not there. Deadbeat dad. His mother is a grandmother to the 7-year-old. So she is given their names. I am not using their last names. They all have different last names, or a couple of them do. I am not using those names. These children have been through enough. But we have Jordan, who is 15, Trayvon, who is 10, Javion, y'all, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correct. It's J-A-apostrophe-V-E-O-N, Javion, is 7, and that is his grandmother who did this one interview. Kendrick was 8 when he was murdered. Now, these boys would have been a year younger or close to that. They are saying time of death would have been from November 20th to the 29th in that time frame. And cause of death is homicide by blunt force trauma. There were multiple blunt force wounds on the body. Now, the grandmother, they keep saying they think there's 2 more children, but with other parents. So I don't know if there's 2 in the younger section of children and this one I'm fixing to talk about or what. But there's another one whose name is Jasmine, and she is 17. And there was a last name in that article, and I'm not for a 17-year-old girl. She didn't need her name out there. I was kind of surprised the names were put in the paper. To be honest, it kind of floored me. So we've got 3, 4, 5, possibly 6. From what I'm gathering, children that are scattered all over. I'm not going to shame her for having multiple partners. That's not my issue. And I think that's the least of the worries right now. Anyways, from what I'm reading, the boys say that he was kicking the boyfriend, who is Brian Coulter, who is 31. I'm going to show his picture here in a minute. Fucking losers, what he was. Oh, I said that out loud. It's fine. He was beating him with his fist and kicking him until he went to sleep, is what one of the children said. They said he also had black eyes and that he just covered him with a blanket and set him in the closet. And that's where he was left for almost a year. 11 months that baby laid in the closet. Well, Nace, he wasn't even a step parent. He was a boyfriend for a couple of years. And I mean, he's a sketchy mofo. I'm just saying. I'm going to pull his Instagram up in a minute, because while these children sat in this apartment with no freaking food, no electricity, no sheets, they had no bedding, they had no furniture, they had nothing. These 2 yo-hos living it up, going to the restaurants and partying, mixed drinks. His Instagram is FOE Productions, which is Family Over Everything Productions. What do you say to that? Yeah, Lala, a freaking year. November 20th through the 29th, in that time frame is when this incident happened. They left the apartment, from what I'm understanding, around February. and left the children. They were, now reports are saying I'm getting 15 minutes and 25 minutes, which being in Houston, they could be the exact same location. And 1 minute time it takes you 30 minutes, next time it takes you 15. It's just Houston traffic. You never know. And so they were just right there. And she would have food deliveries dropped off, but it would be junk food ever so often. They would go pick them up to do things and then take them back to the apartment. And I don't remember which child it is. Well, I don't think they said which child. One of the two younger ones has a jaw injury that requires surgery that hasn't been treated in weeks. It's several weeks old, and it came from Brian. So they've gone and picked him up, taken him somewhere. I don't know. Were they doing a family thing, and then they take him back to the dead body? I don't understand this. It just, none of it makes sense. There is nothing happening that's making any of this make sense right now at all. And somehow or another, he beats him, I guess, punches him, whatever, injures the jaw. He's going to need surgery for the jaw. And 2 of these children in this apartment are on the spectrum. When they say that, I don't know if they're meaning 2 of the 3 living or if they're meaning 2, including the deceased child. Because the family did an interview and said that Kendrick was on the spectrum. So that makes you wonder, is Brian not very tolerant of children with disabilities? Was it the fact that the children had autism and maybe didn't react what we expect from a normal, and y'all, I'm saying normal as in quotes because I'm not trying to say they're not normal, but they don't react the same as other people. So there's a difference in their behavior and what they may react to. And of course, it depends on what part of the spectrum they're on. So could this be that? I mean, that just kind of makes you wonder if the child that was murdered was on the spectrum, and then one of the other children is on the spectrum and he's being beat, but the 15-year-old isn't. Now, they did say the 15-year-old was terrified, would not take food from other people because he was afraid of being poisoned. The neighbors that were feeding him, he would refuse cooked food because he was afraid of poison. And he would take pizzas and he would take noodles. They loved noodles. Fruit, candy, junk food. They lived on junk food. The apartment was full of everything, of food, leftover junk, roaches, flies. They said that the smell, the officer said that they've never in their years have never seen anything like this. There's evidence inside the apartment that the children, the younger ones, were being locked in a room to be kept inside. The oldest was in the apartment. The oldest was 15. Supposedly she has a daughter that is 17. But inside the apartment, the oldest one was 15 years old. Hold on, what did I miss? Oh, yeah, Lala, this is my very first video on this one because this just happened. I am not even watching chat. I'm too busy talking, guys. Did I miss anything? Hold on. Okay, no. Sorry. I get wrapped up in what I'm doing and forget to watch chat. It really is the hardest thing to do. And so they were being kept in these apartments. You got it, Lala. And so they are saying, because my questions were, how were their utilities? Well, there wasn't. I don't know how long there wasn't electricity, but they didn't have electricity for some time now because he had a cell phone. Jordan had a cell phone and was using the neighbors to charge his cell phone. They would find him outside sleeping on the slides of the apartment building. This is a nice apartment building. I did some Google searches on it, and it's a nice apartment building. Expensive. I mean, when I looked up their cost, it was anywhere from $15,000 to $3,000 per apartment. And so I don't know what level theirs was. I know it was a third floor. So I know those tend to be cheaper, but I don't know, still expensive. But they were saying in a press conference that there were government subsidies being used to pay for this apartment. So I guess they used what they were getting for the kids that they were no longer feeding and taking care of. Their money, I guess, was paying for their house. And then them two are over here doing whatever. I don't understand this. Now, the mother of Javion, the youngest, or not the mother, the grandmother, she said that she had seen him a couple of years ago, that Gloria had met with her, I don't know, at a restaurant or something, and she acted like she wanted her to take him. And she says now that she regrets not doing that she really wishes she would have taken him and adopted him then. And she has even offered to adopt all of these children. And once this is over with, at this time, these children are in Child Protective Services, and I would imagine are under very specialized care with specialized counseling and people that truly understand what's going on, because these children are under the most trauma that anybody should ever see. And can you imagine, as an adult, being locked in a room with somebody who died, what that would do to you? Can you imagine as a child? They don't have the wherewithal to understand or even comprehend what's going on. And then the fear of being killed. I mean, that the torment that they must have been going through. They don't think that Brian was abusive to her. They said that there's no evidence of that at this point. Not that that might not come out. Now, he is being held on mental evaluation at the moment. Yeah, well, you are fine, and thank you for the compliments. I am wind ragged. It's windy as hell here today. Like, good Lord, we had that storm yesterday, and then today is like the wind. Like, I looked like Medusa earlier. My hair was just, I didn't keep it up today, so it was everywhere. Like, Jesus, tangles I had to brush out when I got home to get ready for this. It's just crazy. But they don't think she was abused. But I wonder if she wasn't maybe emotionally abused. I mean, that's abuse. Because why else would a mother let this happen to her children unless she just didn't have the ability to mother? I mean, that does happen. There are women out there that just are not moms. They were not ever meant to be mothers. And I mean, we've seen it happen. But it still doesn't make sense. I can't even fathom allowing a man to treat my children bad. My husband adopted my oldest daughter. She was 2. And I will tell you, he has probably been softer on her than anybody. Surely softer than me. And so I don't understand allowing a man to come in your life and be mean and disrespectful to your children. Some women worry more about their men. That's true. And I just don't get it. I have no words for that. I mean, I worried about my husband when my kids were little, but he will tell you my children always came first. And over me, they came first, then him, and then I was somewhere behind everything else. As mamas, that's what we do normally. And so I don't understand quit being grumpy. I don't understand. They're being grumpy over here, not anybody else. I don't understand women with this mentality. I just don't. And to know that your child was murdered and left inside of that apartment, wrapped in a blanket, shoved in a closet. And they described this in the press conference. It was dry bones. I mean, he was completely gone. And if y'all remember, we had a really bad freeze this winter. In February, Texas pretty much shut down from the ice storm. And I don't know how they made it through that. I mean, maybe they were still there at that time because they left in February. So I don't know exactly what part of that, where they left. Now they interviewed them on Sunday and released them Monday, and then arrested them Tuesday. He is being charged with murder and oh Lord, where'd I put it? I want to say there was another charge on there, and she's being charged with harm to a child by omission and failure to provide adequate shelter, something along those lines. The bonds are insane, like $900,000, which I don't think they should have. I mean, I shouldn't say this. I don't think they should. Neither one deserve to be free. Stay their asses in jail, do court. I'm curious to see where this goes on the court cases and what actually comes out, because the detective that has been in charge of this case, he broke down in the interview, and he really was moving. And he said when they asked him if these children were going to be good witnesses for the prosecution, for the case, and he said these three children will absolutely be star witnesses for the prosecution, that they have amazing memories of what they've seen and what has happened, and they have told the story, and everything is perfect. So the sad thing is they now have to do that. They have to go to court, and they have to look at these people who are supposed to protect them, and they have to talk about it. I can't imagine. I mean, you think back, if you know anything about Diane Downs and her daughter having to sit up on that, I use glasses, that stand and say, my mama shot me. These boys are going to have to do the same thing. And they're going to have to talk about this man and what he did to their brother, and the fact that mama sat there and watched it happen. So that's hard on a child. It's very hard on a child. But you stop and think, Jordan had a cell phone. And, hey, quit digging. What are you doing? Trying to dig through the carpet. He had a cell phone, and I mean, he's told his mom Sunday, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of living like this, and I'm calling. And he did. But we say all the time that, yeah, it just wouldn't go good, Froggy. It just would not. I don't suspect that jail is going to be a nice place for either one of them. I mean, because they're not easy on them in prison. I mean, Lacey Spears, I mean, once she went to prison for murdering her child from Munchausen by proxy, because she poisoned him with salt, they threw salt packets at her. Just one of the tormental things they did to her, they were throwing salt packets at her. I think Gabriel Hernandez's mother has had the crap beat out of her in prison on a daily basis. So they do not do this very well with mamas that allow this to happen to their children and do this to their children. And so it's not going to be a pretty place. Not going to be a pretty place. Now, the one woman that was a neighbor who was feeding them, and she thought something was going on. My issue here is people say all the time, what's going on behind doors is none of your business, so stay out of it. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. If you suspect a child is being abused, physically abused and starved, they kept saying he was malnourished. We could tell he was hungry. Well, if you think he's hungry, call the freaking law. Why did nobody call for these children? They knew something was wrong. They didn't even know there were two younger ones in there. But there's one, you don't see any adults. He's really hungry. He's always asking for food. He needs to charge his phone because they don't have electricity. You see him sleeping on a slide in the middle of the night, but we're not calling law enforcement to check on these children. Why didn't the school call? She had 2 charges for truancy filed on her in 2019 and 2020. Because they haven't been in school since May of 2020, which quit in May. June starts our summer, so they were out for June, July, mid-August. And so they haven't been in school from September 2020 all the way to 2021, and now we've started the 2021 season again. So they've missed a year and a half worth of school. They filed truancy charges, and then they showed up at the apartment. They went twice and didn't do anything. And get hold of nobody, so it's whatever. But the apartment's still rented to somebody. In Florida, it's a 5-year prison. I wonder how long there. For what she's doing, I think it's going to be big. I think this one will be, I need to look up the Texas statutes and see what it is. They really did need a lot more help than what they got. They did call the apartment and say they could smell something from the apartment. The apartment never did anything. That's frustrating too. But then again, I mean, they don't want to get charged with invading people's privacy if they go because somebody thinks your apartment smells. But I don't know how maintenance people didn't smell this. Most apartments, and I'm shocked with this one, most apartments do a mandatory once a year spraying for bugs. And they didn't do that here, evidently, because they would have noticed and smelled the apartment. They would have seen the children. Something would have been seen. So there's just a lot of balls that were dropped. I wish that and I bet the school now sits back and goes, wish we'd have called. Wish we'd have done something a little, I mean, there's always a woulda, shoulda, coulda. And so it just makes you wonder where the laws are going to change. And Texas is really bad about depending on our schools to do everything. We do tend to put a lot of it, and the other states may be the same way, but we do tend to put a lot of it onto the schools. And why didn't they do this and why did that? Well, if they were filing charges for truancy, then they probably should have done a little bit further. There was a CPS case in the past, but there wasn't any current open things going on where they had to investigate. So there's not much CPS could have done unless somebody called CPS and then they did a check. And then where are we at there? Who would have known? And so it's just really, really weird. So let me see. I want to show y'all his Instagram. Now, mind you, while their children are sitting in filth and no food, this is what these two are doing. So this is winter chicken dinner. He's got, let me see. Do I need to share audio in case there is? Oh, I took it off. Hold on. Oops. Share audio system, because there is a video. I haven't checked them, so I figured we'll check them out. So let's see. Yeah, 40,000 likes on this one. Look, there's the plate that ate the food. There's the food on the, let's see. He's proud of that plate. There's no audio with it, or that I could hear. Oh, look, there's some more food. There's some bling. Family, looky here. Family over everything. Oh, looky here. Somebody already posted. FOE ain't mean nothing to your piece of shit self. Selfish, abusive, and ugly don't even deserve to live. I mean, people are... There is that. But, I mean, I don't see anything of the children on his Instagram. I mean, why would he? He was too busy beating the crap out of them.
What's I know about that?
Oh, that's
yeah,
cute.
that bullshit too. Yeah, I just. I'm blessed. You know what I'm saying? This is my Valentine's Day present, or part of it. But this was Valentine's. This was Valentine's Day. This was Valentine's Day. This was Valentine's Day. This was Valentine's Day. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a motherfucker.
I just can't. I can't. Y'all. Y'all. Thank you, Lola. Have a good night, honey. So I'm curious because I don't know anything about the grill thing. Is that still in? I thought that was the 80s. Is that still a thing? Is that supposed to be attractive? Not about body shaming, but that was gross. And him and her buying jewelry and doing their thing. So here is their mugshot. The right one? Yeah. He looks a lot different without his glasses on. I don't see tears, do y'all? I don't see any kind of remorse in these pictures. None. Really, Lola? I didn't know it was still a thing. Yeah, I did say grill. He's got like silver cats or whatever you call them where they do their teeth. Isn't that a grill? Well, that's what we called it in the 80s. Just saying. Really is not play time. The dog's like, okay, we've been quiet long enough. Time to play. So there was another. Hold on. Where was the other I was going to show y'all? Something else I had seen. See it there. I think that was it. I think I had my notes from that. Delete that. Oh. Pulling up a picture. I wanted to show y'all. I'm going to pull this picture up. Here is, it should be on, well, you'll have to back it up because it should be on there. Oh, you did back it up. Okay. Oh, let's see. Can I show the file? Let's see. It's not wanting to let me show it. They're in the system, Angela. Well, the kids that weren't with them were already with other family. The boys that were in this apartment are in the system. The state has taken full emergency custody, and no one is allowed to have contact with them right now. So Lala, can you explain to me why we do grills? Why that's a thing? Because I never understood it even in the 80s. I thought it was in the 80s. I assumed it was men's bling bling. Look, how did I pin my comment, y'all? I'm just, as that's been up there the whole time, I'm literally just now noticing it. Y'all, I swear to God. Okay, so if I do, I want to show this picture, and it should just be a pain in the butt, but we're going to figure it out. Ha. So these are the boys. Can y'all see that? This beautiful, beautiful little boy right here. A beautiful, beautiful little boy. Life was taken. How in the world could something that adorable need to be beaten so badly that he dies? And then these are the three. Thank God they've protected their identity. Okay, Lola, let me know if anybody's got any dirt they want to share. I'll talk. They can come talk. Because we're going to be following this case. This one, these babies have not had a voice, and they need a voice. They need somebody that's going to say enough, and we're here for you. And I just pray. I don't know if this grandmother is the home for them. I don't know. I don't know anything about her to know if she would be good for them. But if she is, then I pray that that's what happens. I pray that they get the home that they need, is where my heart is. Going to send a friend over here. Be right back. Okay. When I seen this picture today, really tugged at me. It's really tugged at me. For one, these children are, and they have said they are smaller than what you would expect because of being malnourished. But I can't look at that face and grasp the gravity of what happened to him. It's not right. It's disgusting. I'm trying, Gigi. I'm trying. I cried all day yesterday reading on this case and preparing because it just breaks my freaking heart. I'll read that in a little bit. The clothes did look new, or decent at least. So that would have probably been at least a year ago. Would have been clothes, a year or so ago. I don't understand it. Children are supposed to be protected. They're precious. This is not okay. None of this is. Give me that. Telling me my browser can't share. Yes, Lala. The neighbors did report it. They reported the smell. But can you imagine that the cop said it was just downright deplorable, that they couldn't even, the worst that they'd ever seen, that you just can't imagine. And they and they did what I did think was cute is they asked the boys if they were hungry, and the boys were of course hungry, and they were like, well, what do you want to eat? We'll get you something to eat. They wanted donuts. So they took them, I think they said they did the Shipley's donuts and got them donuts, fed them sugar. But what do? You know, at that point, what do you want? You want a Snicker bar? You want just, whatever they wanted. And I watched some of the footage, and the cops that were outside, you could tell were trying to understand the gravity in processing. I mean, they were very moved. Do y'all want to watch the interview that they did yesterday with the sheriffs about the case? I can pull it up if y'all want to watch. Yeah, Kristen, can you imagine the psychological aspect of this and what they're going to need and the specialized care? Because this isn't going to be just let's put them in therapy and they can live wherever. They're going to have to go into therapy. The home they're in is going to have the same kind of therapy to understand how to deal. There's probably going to be things that set them off for years to come. Smells. For me, these would be kids that would probably never want a door on a bedroom. I bet, Sunday night being able, of course, they were treated in the hospital and then put in a facility. Can you imagine they had blankets? Something simple as a blanket. What that might have felt to them. And I think I'm laughing. Try not to cry. My dogs, y'all, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blankets on my floor in different spots for the dogs. Just for my dogs. That's not including their blankets in their beds. There's only that many because I have one that steals blankets and gets mad if somebody gets on a blanket. So she gets blankets everywhere. Miss Molly gets all particular about her blanket. Speaking of, where is she? I don't know. She's in a blanket. Somebody will step on her in a minute and she'll growl. But a blanket. They didn't have any. They didn't have any bedding. They didn't have. I'm assuming maybe there were toys, so they had something to do. Let me find the. I saved it. You know what? I had it on a different file, but where did I put that? Well, we'll go here. Oh, wait. Let me find it. I'm trying to remember which one was the best one. Because it was the same interview, but it was in different locations. It's not going to be here. It's going to be... Ugh. That is not the file. Oh, here it is. Duh. I'm trying, y'all. Well, that is not what I wanted it to open. And you can tell I'm used to doing this on my phone. So when I get on my computer to pull stuff up, I'm like, oh, wait, what am I doing? Okay, I'm going to get it to where it's not. Okay. I have dog beds everywhere, and I have one dog. He has more outfits than most children. Well, I have more dogs than people have children. Let's just put it that way. But hey, speaking of, you two quit. Raina, come here. No being ugly. What are y'all into? What did y'all find? Lord, I think they got the dog cookie basket. Okay. Oh, these it's just not even funny, guys. I bought an insane amount of new dog treats today, so they're extremely happy. Share screen. Share. I think okay. So I'm gonna try to watch chat. Maybe I should pull it up on my phone. If y'all see if it's echoing like it was doing, let me know. I think I fixed it, but I want to make sure. So let's turn that off. Okay. Screen. So let's do. Is that better? Well, is it play? Well, I guess if I would not be a Dada and hit play.
Good morning. I'm Ed Gonzalez, your Harris County Sheriff, and thank you for joining us this morning as we provide an update to our community on a recent case.
Okay.
There are many jobs in our agency that are tougher than those involving abused children. These incidents are horrific, heartbreaking cases of abuse and neglect, and they involve the most innocent and defenseless among our community. On Sunday, our patrol deputies and investigators responded to a gruesome child abandonment case. For many agency veterans, it was the most disturbing scene they worked in their entire law enforcement career. It seemed too horrific to be real. It's hard to even explain to you that feeling. Our investigators immediately began piecing together what happened and trying to unfold.
Okay, let me see if I can figure out why it's echoing, because I did the little. Does anybody know why it would echo? Angela, is it echoing? Should I mute me, y'all? Let me try to mute me and see if that works.
A seemingly senseless death of a child who was supposed to be loved and cared for, and trying to understand unspeakable living conditions for the dead child's siblings who were left alone for months to fend for each other. We are here to share what we know today and to share our continued commitment to these children and our community. We must work tirelessly as child safety advocates to protect our most vulnerable, and we must work as a team. Sergeant Dennis Wolford with our homicide unit will be talking through the charges with you and any updates on this active investigation. And I want to emphasize active. It's still an active investigation that is continuing. Briefly, I want to provide a scene recap. On Sunday, October 24th, 2021, at about 3:15 p.m., our deputies received a phone call from a 15-year-old child who advised that his brother had been dead for a year and his body was in an apartment unit at 3530 Greencrest near West Park Tollway. He also stated that his parents had not lived in the apartment in West Harris County with him and his siblings for several months. Our patrol deputies found a 15-year-old and two other male children in an apartment unit ages 10 and 7 who appeared malnourished and showed signs of physical injury. They also found skeletal dry remains. The Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit, Child Abuse Unit, and Crime Scene Unit investigators responded to the scene. The children were taken to a local hospital to be assessed and treated. The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services received emergency custody of them. Now, I want to pause just briefly just to say that in the midst of the darkness and this horrific situation, that I'm so glad that that 15-year-old finally reached out for help. I want to say that I'm glad that he found assistance at the end of the other line with one of our call takers. And I'm comforted to know that when he opened the door and there was a Harris County Sheriff's Office deputies there, that they could finally receive the care and protection that they've needed for so long. And that's what law enforcement does every single day, finding people in their darkest moments. The mother of the children, 35-year-old Gloria Yvette Williams, and her boyfriend, 31-year-old Brian Ward Coulter, were located late Sunday night and interviewed by investigators before being released without charges. Now, I think it's important to note that at that point, it's still an ongoing active investigation. We didn't find them until late that night. And so we have to make sure that we're being thorough, not getting ahead of the evidence and the investigation that's ongoing. And so at that point, they were released without any charges. On Tuesday, October 26, 2021, the Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit charged the mother's boyfriend, Brian Coulter, with the murder of the child, who was confirmed to be 8 years old at the time of his death in 2020. The manner and cause of death were ruled a murder by multiple blunt force injuries, according to the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences. The mother of the murdered child, Gloria Yvette Williams, was charged with injury to a child by omission and tampering with evidence. Both Williams and Coulter were taken into custody without incident by our criminal warrants unit investigators, and this remains an active investigation. At this point, I want to introduce Sergeant Dennis Wolford, the lead investigator with our homicide unit, that will speak about the child's murder and updates. A lot of this information will still be general. Keep in mind, there are certain things we could answer, other things we simply can't at this point for a variety of reasons. And it remains active because there's always a possibility, as we mentioned, that there could be additional charges, that charges could be upgraded. So it's still an unfolding investigation at this point. But at this point, I introduce Sergeant Wolford.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning. Again, my name's Sergeant Dennis Wolford. I'm the supervisor of the homicide unit that was tasked with investigating this. It's a group of 6 investigators. The lead investigator is actually Deputy John Craig. Child abuse also made the scene with us, and they were invaluable in the input that they gave us dealing with CPS and things like that. One of the things that I want to express, I know that there was a lot of people upset that these people weren't taken into custody right away. And one of the things you have to understand is, one, the law of statements, the laws of the state of Texas, and how we get these things into trial. We knew at that point that these children were safe because they were in CPS custody. And, the decision was made not to arrest that night. And the reason is because a lot of evidence has to come in before we can actually file charges, including a ruling from the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences on what caused this child's death. We also had numerous people, forensic interviews with the children and stuff like that had to be done. Plus, we have to corroborate what the children are telling us before charges can be filed. So believe me, we, from the very beginning, me, the 6 of us, the child abuse guys, we were focused on getting these charges done. And we wanted to get them done as quickly as possible. But above all, murder investigations, child deaths, child murders, they are methodical investigations. And our end goal is to see that justice is served, not to just put people in jail. We want justice to be served. I will answer any questions that I can for you. There may be some that I cannot. Again, as the sheriff said, in my long time of working homicides, this one's up there. You know, this one affected us.
We'll circle back with the question just a bit.
Sure. Yes.
And I also want to mention that we have members here from our Crimes Against Children unit as well. Lieutenant Lovin and his team are here as well. And so they'll be present if there's certain questions that perhaps they can answer. I do want to just mention a couple things that may come up before we get into other parts of it, is that it's our understanding that the children that were present in the apartment, that there were two fathers involved, not involved in the scene, what I'm saying in terms of connected to them. We're told, we haven't confirmed it yet, but that one is possibly deceased already and the other was simply not involved in the lives of the children, so they were not in the picture. There's also, I believe, at least two other siblings that were not in the apartment that are elsewhere as well. So I just wanted to mention that we are aware of those dynamics as well. I want to just briefly say it in Spanish as well, just recap what we had. El día domingo, el 24, como a las 3:15, recibimos una llamada de un adolescente de 15 años que avisó que quería reportar de que su hermano había estado muerto por más de un año y que el cadáver estaba dentro de la unidad, en los apartamentos en el 3530 Greencrest. Mencionaron también que los parientes no habían estado en unidad por varios meses y que él estaba cuidando a sus niños. Cuando llegaron nuestros oficiales, encontraron un estado de descuido horroroso. Encontraron al adolescente de 15 años y dos niños también de edades de 10 a 15 años. Estaban desnutridos, tenían también lesiones físicas. Entonces comenzamos nuestra investigación. Hemos puesto cargos contra a la mamá de 35 años, Gloria Williams, y el novio de ella, 31 años, Brian Coulter, por los diferentes hechos. Él recibió los cargos más fuertes que han sido del asesinato del niño pequeño que determinamos que tenía 8 años a su tiempo de muerte el año pasado. Esta investigación va a seguir continuando porque hay diferentes aspectos y ha sido una de las investigaciones más duras para todos nosotros. Entonces vamos a seguir adelante para encontrarle justicia a estos niños. Again, you know, may this little angel rest in peace. Didn't have a chance. You know, it's very heartbreaking, and we offer our condolences, just to the siblings that remain and anyone that has ever cared for these children in some form or fashion. And so our heart breaks for them, and we're going to do everything possible to be their aspects through the part of the system that we control, and that we leave no stone unturned, as I promised at the scene. And we will also, our prayer, or my prayer, is that the remaining children find the love, support, and protection that they so desperately need and deserve, and that they have been missing for so long. And I hope that their future is better than their past. We're also told that they hadn't been in school since last May, so for more than a year, they've been missing out on that as well. So there's a lot of factors to this, a lot of moving parts, and so that's where we're at right now. I'll go ahead and pause just to see if there's any. I'm sure there'll be questions, but Donald?
What were the children injuries? Because when you found them, they appeared to be malnourished and injured. What were their injuries?
Lieutenant, do you want to speak a little bit to the injuries, or does anyone know just the physical injuries?
So the 9-year-old does have an injury to the jaw that we come to believe was caused to his jaw by the boyfriend, Brian Coulter, several weeks ago. There was no medical attention given for that injury. That injury is going to cause, he's going to have surgery, and that surgery will happen soon. They were very thin. One of the first things I asked them what are they hungry, and they said they were. And the first thing, I don't know if it was because we're cops or what, but they wanted donuts. So, and we immediately went and got them Shipley's donuts. But the physical injury that was evident, to the 9-year-old, that's the only real overt sign of trauma to them as far as physical.
I want to mention as well, because that was something that was very disturbing, is that back to the different parts. We had the dry remains, skeletal remains that were present. So clearly in our initial observations, the body had been there for a long time, and so that was disturbing. But on top of that, we had a serious injury to another small child that apparently had not received, to our knowledge, any kind of medical attention, any pain treatment or anything like that during the course of this. I also want to point out as well, I mentioned a little bit that the apartment was in a deplorable condition. We saw soiled carpet, no furniture at all, no bedding, no blankets, nothing that we could see. And it appeared to have roaches and flies and just things. It was very bad condition for anyone, especially children, to live in.
I spoke with neighbors who were the ones helping give that 15-year-old food, and they didn't know there were 2 other boys inside that apartment. To your knowledge, did the 2 younger boys ever leave the apartment for several months? Were they stuck in the apartment?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, I do not believe that the 2 young boys were ever allowed to leave that apartment. There is some evidence that perhaps they were locked in, possibly different parts of the apartment, and they were not to leave that apartment, from what I understand.
With what you can tell us, it obviously took the 15-year-old was brave enough to call you guys, but it did take a year. Fear, what can you tell us about what he's saying? Threatening? What took so long to call authorities?
I believe it was absolute fear. What the investigation is leading us to the fact that this mother and her boyfriend have been together for a few years now, a couple years. And over time, I think that the beatings were consistent and mainly, involving the younger children. And the 15-year-old just absolutely afraid and was basically hoping or relying on his mother to at some point contact law enforcement and advise of his deceased brother in the house, and that didn't happen. And I think after a year's time, the 15-year-old boy finally said enough is enough, and that's when he decided to contact law enforcement.
So those children have been through a lot of trauma, and so again, I mean, fear, the death of a sibling and other things. It's just heartbreaking, and so the trauma is just at another level. So, one in Spanish.
Sí. ¿Dónde estaban estos señores? ¿Dónde estaba la esposa, la madre y este señor? ¿Dónde los encontraron?
Ellos estaban viviendo, pues hay diferentes aspectos. Uno es cuando fueron arrestados y el otro estaban viviendo en otro apartamento. Tenían otro apartamento donde vivían juntos.
La pregunta que les quiero hacer es porque ustedes nos encuentran, ustedes acaban de describir las condiciones que estos niños estaban. No tenían muebles, no tenían nada, ni una cobija, nada. ¿Estos señores estaban bien en un apartamento amueblado y todo?
The question, first of all, I was asking where they were at, the boyfriend and the mother, generally speaking, and I said that they were living in a separate apartment of their own. And so the follow-up question was, do we know if that apartment was more decent and more well taken care of than the one the kids were in? So I don't know if we know that detail, but do we know the condition of the apartment they were in?
We do not know that yet. We have, we're in contact with that complex, and that is on the follow-up stuff we have to do in this week, is to go over there and document what.
And I'm gonna say this. I'm sorry. Any clue of why this happened? Have you talked to these individuals to say as to what was going through their mind in doing this to this kid? Well, especially the mother.
Without giving direct quotes or saying what we learned in these interviews or things of that nature, you have to understand a child abuser, and this is a textbook case of a person that abuses children. And the mindset, the demeanor, the children that are abused, 7, 9 years old, 12 years old, very, very vulnerable children. One of the things, these are also something that's probably not out yet, is that these are special needs children. And so you have a very manipulative person who's not only, and this mother had a year to contact law enforcement. So you can't tell me that for every minute for a year, you were afraid. But this is a classic child abuser. So someone that picks on these young children, and whether it gives them some kind of, I don't know the word for it, some kind of makes them feel better about themselves to abuse these children. I don't know. But I do think that the type of person this is very manipulative from the children they're abusing to the mother as well.
So was he the abuser? Was she the abuser?
Well, I would say they're both abusers. He's an abuser physically, and she's an abuser by omission. Very much so.
Can you talk about why the mother and the boyfriend made the decision to leave the apartment, to find a new place to live?
Well, I would absolutely think that common sense would tell you that they're distancing themselves from a dead child, and they know that it's gone on for, by the time they moved out, you're talking about probably 5 to 6 months after death. They know the entire time that there's a dead body in this apartment, leaving the kids there in the apartment. Yet the two that are guilty in several different areas, they're going to separate themselves. So they go living in another apartment so that they don't have to be around them.
And the mother, we believe, was providing some food by delivery service or having food dropped off on a fairly routine basis. I didn't see anything that was healthy type of food. It was, I think, more like junk food, noodles and chips and soft drinks and things like that. Let me work my way over here.
First question, is there any evidence that the mother was being physically abused herself?
No evidence of that. No outcry has been made from them.
And then, can you give us any information about CPS's prior interaction with this family and why that investigation ceased?
We're going to refer that to CPS. Obviously, they could speak to their own investigations and what they have on file. So we're not going to speak to that. Let me make my way.
Can you provide any information about what led to the child's death? I know you said that
it's just blunt force trauma is what we know. I mean, it's still, again, we'll work with the medical examiners to get more into the weeds on that. But again, that was another twist to all this, is that we were, in addition to one serious child that's alive with serious injuries and the malnourishment and abandonment, we had a skeletal dry remains that were discovered as well. So we'll work through that with the medical examiners, but it was ruled a homicide due to blunt force injuries.
it was happening in 2020, but you
2020, we think approximately November. Right?
Did you ask for an exact date? I'm sorry. No, we do not have more of an exact date than that. We believe we're using Thanksgiving of 2020, sometime around November 20th through November 29th is kind of the reference point we're using there. And we absolutely believe that's when that child was killed.
And based on state of decomposition, all these were dry remains. I would really be clear with that. It was already
And is that
at
when
that
they
stage.
moved out?
Let me make already.
Two questions about the building management. One, who was paying for the bills? Were the bills being paid?
Our understanding is that they were receiving some type of maybe government assistance for that. I don't know how those payments are done, if they're directly to the apartment and how they were handled.
And will part of your investigation be looking at this apartment complex? I'm told with this housing complex, you're supposed to be doing inspections regularly, pest control, looking at when the last time someone was inside the apartment, was there any failure on their part as well?
We will document that, obviously, all of that, but I don't think that the focus of our investigation, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, will be on whether there's any type of liability on that apartment complex, any type of criminal liability. Ours is strictly the murder of this child and the fact that the mother did not contact law enforcement, report this, or get any kind of help for any of her children that needed it.
Are all 4 children special needs? What type of special needs do they have? Or
We've received some information that at least 2 may be on the autistic spectrum, but we're not, medical professionals know that part yet. We don't, but that's the general information that we've received. So on top of being abandoned, these are children that really needed some additional care and support to, understanding the dynamics of that.
¿Podría decir eso en español, por favor?
Nos dicen que los niños tal vez estaban autistic, por lo menos dos. No somos médicos para estar seguros, pero es lo que nos han dicho, que tal vez tenían autismo.
Algo así, mucha gente se cuestiona cómo fue posible que tanto tiempo permaneciera un cuerpo. Creo que hasta ustedes están bien impactados con eso.
Sí, no, bastante. No habíamos visto una situación así con todos esos elementos, pero parece ser que los restos habían estado allí ya por más de un año. Es lo que tenemos entendido, que es cuando sospechamos que el novio asesinó al niño y mantuvieron el cuerpo allí. Parece que se mudaron de ese apartamento a otro apartamento aparte y dejaron a los niños abandonados ahí.
¿Cómo estaba el cuerpo del niño?
Ya estaba en una situación de restos óseos, parece que dicen restos óseos, como se dice, como el cadáver, ya solamente estaba el cadáver seco, no era algo que había pasado
¿No lo
recientemente.
tenían escondido?
No, estaba, the remains, the skeletal remains were found in plain view, if you will. They weren't concealed in any way. Or anything like
Do you believe the boyfriend and mother were going back to the apartment and actually hurting the children while still like giving them food?
Well, if the injury to the small child would indicate there was still some level of contact, so I don't know. I don't think they were really spending much time in there at all. But Sarge, do you have anything?
Yeah, the evidence that they continued to abuse these children is that, one, the injury to the 9-year-old boy that we understand did not occur in that apartment, that injury to him, that he had been picked up and he was taken somewhere and then brought back.
And then, so they were in this apartment for so long. We had some neighbors giving them food. Somebody said he looked really thin. They were not in school. A message to parents. How important is it when you see stuff like this to call for help, to say, hey, these kids, I'm worried. They're in this apartment. I've been giving them food for X amount of months. He looks really thin. How important is it that we call 911 in these cases? Because we probably could have, helped these kids a lot earlier, and they're at this point, they're just traumatized by what happened.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because I do want to kind of close at least some of the formal, and we'll still, if we start a question, we'll answer a few more, but I wanted to make sure I got this in. We rely on our community to report abuse and keep our children safe when they see the signs of a child in need. Signs of abuse aren't always obvious, but they are often there if you know where to look. We are asking every adult in our community to help. Take actionable steps to create safer environments for the children in your life. 1, if you see something, say something. Reporting suspicions of child abuse can save a life, prevent further victimization, or stop more children from being victimized. 2, learn how to recognize and report child abuse. Education and training are our best defense against those who harm children. 3, talk to your children. Start the conversation early and continue the discussion throughout their upbringing. 4, spread the message. Tell your neighbors and loved ones how they, too, can do their part to keep our children safe in a real and virtual world. Our partners at the Children's Assessment Center offer free training and resources on the signs and symptoms of child abuse and share stories of survivors throughout the year. Sadly, in 2020, nearly 4,000 children received services at the Children's Assessment Center here in Harris County. These experts provide high-quality care so children can thrive. Their work embodies the sentiment, no future should be out of reach. And while the work of our Sheriff's Office specialized units is always essential, it is especially critical during a crisis. The disruption brought on by the pandemic made our children even more vulnerable to abuse. Some of those traditional safety nets have been removed, with children not regularly attending schools, daycares, and after-school programs. We have a shared responsibility and shared commitment to ensure every child lives a life free from abuse. Prevention through education is key. If you're concerned about your child in your life, call us at 713-221-6000. If you want to remain anonymous, call Crime Stoppers at 713-222-TIPS. And in closing, I want to make sure that I just recognize our personnel, those in the front lines, the deputies that first responded, the sergeants, the call taker, the investigators, our crime scene unit investigators, our warrants team, just everybody. It really has taken an entire team. They've worked tirelessly around the clock and have really given it their all to make sure we got to this point. And I know sometimes the general public wants us to work a case as if it were a crime series and everything's going to be wrapped up in an hour. I understand that. We understand their same frustration and concerns and eagerness, but we have to stay focused with what's in our line of sight, make sure we're being professionals. We owe it to these children to make sure that if a case comes to trial, that there's a chance for successful prosecution. So we want to make sure that we're being thorough. And sometimes we can't just go with what our own personal feelings maybe. We have to put those aside and focus on the job at hand. So I want to thank all of them here today and those that may not be present because they're obviously out in the field doing other work. We'll take just a couple closing questions and then we'll have to stop.
I know that you said that whenever you saw the kids, they were hungry, but emotionally, how were they? Were they relieved? Were they happy? How did they react when they saw you guys?
In my opinion, those children were younger than their chronological age. They were very sweet children, very nice, very well spoken. And you know, from the very beginning, everything we asked them, they were just straightforward. But you know, at the same time, though, you have that 1,000-yard stare. You know, that blankness in the eyes, but they were as sweet as they can be. You know, it was very sad, but you know, they are good children.
Were each of the children, from the youngest, aware of the abuse that the boyfriends accused of? And then were they aware that the body was there decomposing over the year?
They were aware of the body being there. I don't know how much detail we want to say about what each one
Yes.
knew or not. Just as
Though I will say those children will be very vital and key witnesses in the prosecution of Mr. Coulter.
Will you guys release the 911 calls? Or the
we'll,
911 calls?
we'll talk about that, and if it's something we can do, we'll for transparency, we'll try to get that out. Dime, porque
En español, rapidito, que esos niños están marcados de por vida.
sí, los niños, él describió los niños que a primer ojo parecía ser que no estaban de un estado de madurez para su edad, pero que aparte de todo estaban muy amables, muy agradecidos, estaban bien, pero que obviamente van a necesitar mucho apoyo en los años en el futuro.
Y por favor, dígale a la comunidad qué tiene que hacer para evitar esto.
Sí, pues le pedimos al público que ponga ojo. Muchas veces hay situaciones donde pueden ver que un vecino o algo, que hay una situación donde los niños están desnutridos o que no ven a los padres muy seguido. Hablen, repórtenlo, déjenlos que vengamos a investigar y después ya nosotros nos podemos tomar cargo. Está bien si no está pasando nada, pero si está pasando algo es el momento de intervenir. Hable con sus hijos. Lamentablemente con lo de la pandemia y todo, muchos sistemas que estaban ahí para apoyar a los niños, como las escuelas y las maestras, y muchas veces se derrumbó esos sistemas, pero es para los vecinos y los demás. Si comienzan a ver algo sospechoso, es mejor que hablen y que lo reporten.
¿Qué se puede hacer si una familia no tiene, no es capaz de la responsabilidad de una familia?
No, pues tienen que hablar a las autoridades y hay diferentes sistemas de apoyo que están allí para ayudar a familias, pero no es ninguna excusa de que abandonen a su familia, los niños de menor edad y todo eso. 15 ages were 15, 10.
15, 7, and 9.
And I believe they were staying in West Houston.
How far was
Is
that?
it
Location?
approximately? Like,
Their new apartment from the old,
It was
about a 25-minute drive.
Were there any previous law enforcement calls to service involving that address of the family?
have we checked that particular unit?
Yes, there are none that we've been able to find as of today.
the smell. How did they control the smell?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
it just
right.
that baffles us. We've been to a lot of scenes like that, and that smell is one that stays with you. And so I don't know. I mean, I feel for those children and everything they've endured. Their physical injuries and situation, as well as the mental and emotional aspects of everything they've endured. So again, my hope and prayer, and I'm sure that the committee shares, is that these kids find the love, support, and care that they deserve and need, and all children do.
¿Me puede decir eso en español? El olor, ¿cómo?
Si el olor, no sé cómo lo controlaron, es un olor muy fuerte cuando fallece alguien, y especialmente cuando un cadáver estuvo ahí, los restos estuvieron ahí por mucho tiempo. Entonces, ya después se va pasando el olor, pero no sé cómo pudieron haber sobrevivido no sobrevivido, pero pasado esa etapa donde estaba esa. But we'll go ahead and close at this point. Gil's available, and others will be available if anything comes up. And again, thank you so much.
And I was muted. It wouldn't add back to the stream. Y'all, I don't know. I just don't have words. I want to sit down with these boys on the couch, on the floor, and just hold them and let them know that there's love out there. That touch isn't always hurtful and painful and mean and angry. And I hope that whatever home they're in right now is slowly showing them love, and that adults aren't assholes. Not all adults. I know quite a few, but I have friends that do foster care, and they work with children who have been abused and come from horrible situations. And I can tell you the process is very slow. It is very nerve-wracking. It is very heartbreaking, because you just want to fix it and you can't. It's a slow process. Can't even begin to imagine the pain that they're in. Can't even begin to imagine. Can't. My grandson is 10. And I can tell you what, if my daughter was with somebody that I even suspected of being any kind of angry and ugly to that baby, Lord help him, the world is not big enough to get away from me. My daughter was with a guy at one point who wasn't really physically mean. I don't think he was ever physically mean, but he had a very nasty persona and just kind of talked very disrespectfully and degrading. And there were things that he would say that I would just kind of, and I would look at my daughter because she knew. And I told him at one point that he better watch what he talks and says to my grandson, because he's not an adult. At that point, Jason was 3, 4. So he was too little to understand the words, but I knew what they were. And I'm like, dude. And so finally, Katie told him, she was like, you're probably like, 30 seconds away from my mother ripping your head off. You might want to chill. And Katie just kind of blew it off. She didn't really see what he was saying as being ugly. Now she looks back and she's like, oh, he really was a dick. And I'm like, told you. But if he had ever even acted like he wanted to whip that boy, I'm going to tell you what, this chick wasn't playing. And Katie didn't play that way. She didn't allow him to spank him at all. But I just can't imagine that ever happening to my grandson. Because that jail would not protect him from me, let me tell you. So they moved out their furniture, got their own apartment, and left their kids. One of them did. Yep. Evidently, I guess they left clothes, but they didn't leave any blankets. I guess they didn't leave towels. I mean, can you imagine? Have these babies had a bath? I didn't even think about that part. Oh. I didn't even think about the bath. I didn't even think about that. It was kind of like the furthest thing on my mind of what was going on here. Had they had baths? I mean, boys are hard to get to take a bath anyway. So if you're not making them take a bath, well, the chances they're going to take a bath, it's not going to happen. Well, most boys. My son was opposite. Dude would take 3-4 baths a day. Oh, yeah, they took everything. They just left nothing. Nothing. And nobody noticed. That's what gets me, is nobody caught this. Nobody caught it. I don't understand that. Neighbors smelled, complained to the apartment complex. The apartment complex didn't investigate. They didn't investigate. Been reading up while I was listening to the video. They've questioned the apartment, and the apartment's not answering anybody. I mean, literally, when you call the apartment and ask, they hang up. They will not answer. So what the hell's going on? Where was your yearly inspection, and why wasn't it done? Why wasn't the pest services that are supposed to have in apartments not happening? There's one that is speaking out, and it was the 7-year-old, the youngest one's, the youngest one's grandmother. And she hasn't seen him in a few years. The mom and all the children lived with her for a few years back, a couple of years ago. I think it said 2014, around that time. And she was known to bring a lot of men in and out. And then she just moved. I think she met this dude, and they just moved. And I don't understand as a grandparent, and Froggy, you're a grandparent. We're very involved. Even though yours live way away from you, you still know what's going on. And so I guess because there does seem to be a family disconnect. And I know that her family said that they haven't talked to her in a while. She just kind of disappears until she wants something, and then she shows back up. And I'll share that video another time. I don't want to keep everybody a whole lot longer because it's about 20-30 minutes itself, I think. So in the next video, I'm going to share maybe there'll be some more things with the family that I can share. So we're going to keep following this case. I may drive over there. It's not that far. It's not like I have anything else going on. Said sarcastically. But maybe Lala will go with me, and we'll go pick her up, and we'll go over there. Get a view of the apartment, the area. Feel for it. Maybe we can find the people that knew them. Definitely a case I want to cover a little bit more. These were African-American children. I don't know. Has anybody seen national news coverage? I'm local. I mean, I'm a couple hours away, but we're seeing it. I mean, of course, I get some of the Houston news. I don't know if it's being seen anywhere else. Is this one of those things that nobody's going to talk about because of race? I mean, surely media is going to pick this up. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. Something has to change. So I am going to sign off. It's 8:30 here. I have not even thought to eat dinner or what I was going to do for dinner. That's the fun part of when your husband is not home and living in another state working. Don't bother thinking about cooking. I need to quit that. I need to get on a better routine. But definitely going to be discussing this some more. I'm going to get some more of those other videos together, and we'll do another live. It's Halloween weekend, so I don't want to take up everybody's time, but I do want to talk about the case. But anyways, thank you, ladies. Go have a good evening. Everybody that joined tonight, if you're watching replay, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate everybody's time tonight. You ladies have a good night, and I will talk to y'all soon.